Thank you for tuning in to the Lethal Truth, where the truth shall set you free by any means necessary. I'm talking about mentally, I'm talking about physically, especially physically, depending on your situation. You could be gangbang, you could be in jail doing time. Something I could say something legal could help you in the law library. That's why I always say can help you physically. So we back from what I was talking about earlier pertaining to the Diddy trial. So I'm gonna wait like 2 minutes. I'm gonna give some people to tune in, and then we're gonna go right into it. We're gonna go right into it. This is very important. This is very, very important, y'all. So we're gonna wait till some people tune in right now. Hope everybody having a good day. Hope everybody having a good day. Give it a minute or two. Wait for some people to tune in. Wait for some people to tune in. You know this is a good one. Got one coming for you, coming to you. This is the Diddy trial. This is the Diddy trial. Today we're gonna talk about the forensic psychologist testimony, and we're gonna talk about Kud Kudi's testimony. Oh yeah, we getting it live today, baby. This is that I'm catching up. I caught up so far. So last testimony was Kud Kudi's. We already covered everybody else's testimony. As we can see, these testimonies doesn't really click to the charges. And like I said, the only testimony that really matters is Cassie's testimony. She's the only one that didn't trip over her descriptions and details when it comes to the testimony. Hold on, y'all. Yeah, she was the only one that didn't trip over her testimony. She didn't trip over the stories, gave inconsistent stories, double stories. She gave all the specific stories that she could give. And you know how you could tell it's so true? Because everybody that was around them that testified, their stories don't cooperate or collaborate with Cassie's. No Gene Deal, no Jaguar Wright. None of these people who's talking right now, their statements or their stories matter. It don't matter. Jaguar Wright, she was down with Puffy before Bad Boy even blew up to the way it is. So she don't know nothing. She wasn't around. Gene Deal, you stop being around Mace. I'm not defecating on them. I'm just trying to let y'all see that what they're saying about Puffy, like what's going on right now, they have no stories. It wasn't around. The most they could tell you about Diddy is how trash he is when it comes to music contracts. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even think it's trash. I think he know what he's doing because he learned from people that came behind him. This didn't just start with the jerking for record deals. We saw that in the Temptation movie. We saw that in the Ray Charles movie. We saw that in the James Brown movie. We saw that in the Five Heartbeats movie. Every movie we saw when it deals with music, we always see an artist getting jerked for their contracts. Why? Because the ones that's pushing the contracts in front of them, they know these individuals is not going to read no contracts. When the Locks was talking about it, the Locks was saying the contract was about this thick. You ain't trying to read that. And some of y'all don't even have lawyers to read it because you broke. As soon as you sign a contract, that's when you get an advance check. So you stuck. You don't want to throw away the chance you have. So you know what? They be like, I'll worry about it later. Then later on, they crying. With the Locks, let's touch up on this real quick when it comes to record deals. There's three individuals. They get a music contract. They sign the contract. And they get one check. They don't get three. They get one check, and they got to divide that check. They was on Hot 97 told me, I don't even have a house. Puff said it right. Yo, you might have a good condo. You might have a nice apartment, but you ain't going to get no house the way you want it. It's three of y'all. Y'all got to bust them checks in three ways. Then you got everything that you got to pay for. You got to pay for the engineers, the producing, the promotion. You got to even pay for the albums. That's when they was doing CDs and all that. You have to even pay for those, even pay for the ones that haven't sell that they ship back to the company. You got to pay for the videos, how much you want for your videos. Busta Rhymes and Janet Jackson video costed $1 million. $1 million. Okay, you could cover it because he's a mega star. What about the locks? They had one video that cost $500,000. They didn't even go gold. So you wasn't paying that back. So you in the red. So what you was looking for? Granted, Puffy did some underhand stuff and he kept their publishing rights and their masters for 20 years. He milked it. But who fault is that? You ain't read it. Contract. See, you get into a lot of us, we get into this music industry stuff and we thinking that these people are our friends. Yo, welcome to Babel. Yo, you part of the family. You don't even know their first names. All of a sudden, you part of the family. You don't know nothing about these people, but you part of the family. Family is a strong name. You can be related with family and not be family. So don't get caught up in you meeting strangers. All of a sudden, you're having fun and we family because he took you out. Or like 50 take you out, he put Rolexes on you, he put a chain on you. He know where he come from, so he wants you to look good, but don't get it confused. At the end of the day, this is business. We could be family. Master P said it best. He said, my uncle, he started running a company. I try to keep it family, but my uncle started messing up my damn business. He said, I fired him. He went to family reunion. Big Mama came and stepped in the grandmother. I used to do. You fired my son. He said, Big Mama, he was messing up my business. You family, but to an extent. Can't be family, you messing up my business. If you family and you know you messing up my business, you need to sit down. You know what I'm saying? So let's get right into it. So last I left off, I was talking about the forensic psychologist. And I want to say, like I said in my last show, I respect the women out there. I don't condone the things Puffy's doing, but I don't condone you trying to crucify a black man for something he didn't do. That I have to agree with. I have to go with the crime that fits the charges. You know what I'm saying? And the charges that fit the crime. I can't go against somebody who killed a goldfish, or better yet, not even killed, who shoplifted and stole some sweaters that was $1,000, and you want to sentence him, convict him, or charge him, better yet, for murder. It doesn't mix because the crime doesn't fit the charge. That's all. But when it comes to abuse, I had to take this moment out, and I had to really analyze this part of the case and his testimony, because a lot of us went through a mental health situation. I have a show, you check it out, it's called Mental Health. We all go through mental health, starting from our home, all of us, because it's been passed down from slavery. So it's always somebody in a bunch from slavery, that mentality they never lost, and they bring that niggerism into the family. Deadbeat fathers, womanizers, and so forth. You know what I'm saying? I'm not perfect, but this has been passed down. I've been abused. My mother been abused. My brother been abused. Not sexually, I'm talking about physically. I'm talking about verbally, even financially, because there's different types of abuse. And sometimes the abuser doesn't even know that he's abusing or she's abusing at the person they're with, even if it's a family member. You know what I'm saying? You can abuse someone just by finance. You could abuse someone just by knowing they don't have a car or they don't have whatever transportation, and you know they need you. If you play against that because they need you, that's a form of abuse. It's a form of abuse. When you know you did wrong and you want to do the love bombing, such as you want to start bringing gifts to say you sorry and so forth, take a person out, give them money, try to make them feel good, then you're using abuse. That's abuse. So let's get right into it, right? So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. Bing! Hit it, please. Hit it, share. Hit that share button. Tell a friend I'm up here. The truth is up here. I'm giving it to you live from the courthouse. It's none of these blogs or nothing like that. I know someone that's in the courthouse. He's in the overflow. He's looking at the screen. He's seeing the transcripts. He's hearing the testimony. He's scribbling it down. And I got it for you. So you ain't got to go searching here, searching there, searching there. I'm giving you everything up front. All right, so let's get into it. So the government put the forensic on the stand. So the forensic is a clinical and forensic psychologist. Her name is Dr. Hughes. I'm reading transcripts. All right. Dr. Catherine Hughes is her name. Now the prosecution, they're going back and forth. You know, before she took the stand, the defense lawyers, Puff, the prosecutor, they was going back and forth on one or two issues, but pertaining to Sean and Cassie with this testimony. All right. Because they like, is the issues with Sean, John, like, is Cassie in Boston, Massachusetts without Puff, you know, and was she looking to buy drugs to suggest that there was no force from Puffy? Her to use drugs, that when she was alone in Boston by herself, she bought drugs on her own. And she looked to buy drugs on her own. And she sent a text to somebody saying, I'm in Boston, just me. So here it is on her testimony, in her text, as a matter of fact, as well. She's concurring that at this point, in several points about herself, she's using drugs without the assistance of Diddy. She's not being forced to take no drugs. She has the opportunity to go to a drug rehab. She chooses not to do that. She's having fun. She's living the millionaire life around a millionaire. She's not a millionaire. Well, now she is. But at that time, she wasn't a millionaire, and she's living a millionaire life. Right? So, okay, so they go back and forth. They wanted to put Kim's Porter picture up there as an exhibit while the psychiatrist talked. Along, Cassie says condolences as well. The defense objected because what they saw was the prosecution was trying to play the sympathy role. They were trying to play the sympathy role, you know what I'm saying? So if they put Kim's Porter picture up there and they start talking about abuse, and for what Kim said and the rumors we heard about the book that was coming out, a book that that Kim Porter never wrote, and the other dude, this guy that was running around saying, I got the rights, when he was lying all along. Well, you got the rights, well, where the book at then? Because the best friend said he lying, ain't got no book. I've been her best friend for 30 years. She would have told me she was writing a book. You see what I'm saying? So this is why I said you can't really go off everything that you see on social media. You got to get everything at one for you to understand. Or you down there at the courthouse and you getting the information. You know what I'm saying? Because I probably would have been down there trying to get the information because I don't want to spread no lies. I don't want to spread propaganda. I don't want to be biased. That's why I put the transcripts up to read it. Y'all all right? Y'all follow me? All right. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. All right. So they objected to the they objected to the picture. All right. All right. So now she's on the stand, Dr. Hughes. This is the direct examination from the prosecutors to her. Okay, she's on the stand. Okay, this is the government witness, Dr. Hughes. She's a clinical and forensic scientist. She has a bachelor's of science degree in psychology from Hampton College. From Hampton College in New York. She has a Master of Science and a PhD for Nova Southwestern in Florida. She has a she has a postdoctoral degree from Cornell Medical College, and she even studied at Yale School of Medicine. She has training in domestic violence for women, training in male abusers for men, training in treating children from abusive homes. She studied at Yale University, abuse training in childhood and adulthood. She's also trained at Cornell for taking the box. Let's say that. I can't, I can't say certain words. The taking the what from a woman and um, sexual assault. She has a clinical, hold on. Okay, where she has personal patients. Okay, hold up. This is real important, okay? I want y'all to really pay attention to this because she has an independent practice. Hit that like button, Lethal Seduction. I see you in the building. Hit that like button. My son, he just came home. You know what I mean? I feel good when my children comes home. You know what I'm saying? So, especially what's going on out there in the world, you always got to be happy that your children make it home from school. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now this is, like I said, this is real important. She has an independent practice. Okay, so she has her own thing going on, right? She has a clinical practice where she has personal patients that deals with, she has personal patients which she deals with for forensic psychology and criminal and civil matters. She's also a volunteer facilitator at Cornell here in New York. In her clinical practice, and I want to do this, and I want to say this too. Like I said, ladies, my heart goes out to y'all. It goes out to everybody that was abused, because what I'm about to get into is gonna make a lot of you realize that you were abused. And if you are going through this right now, you need to step up and say something, or better yet, what you need to do is find somebody to talk to or seek out therapy because you have a mental health issue and you need to talk to someone to get this off your chest. Because what happens is situations like this causes the victim to kill the abuser. And now you in court trying to explain yourself about the years you was abused. And the courts don't want to hear that because the prosecutor only care about the crime that you committed. Because this is all the excuse they're going to come up with. I'm telling you, you should have called somebody, you should have seek help, you should have did this, you should have did that. But they know that some females and some men, they keep it bottled inside. And what happens is you lash out and you kill your abuser. Now you're fighting a murder case. Because 65% of the women in prison right now is there for killing their abuser. Come on now, let's be for real. Right? And sometimes this abuse can have females or males commit suicide. This is very serious. You know what I'm saying? That's why I told people, I said, yo, I'm talking about Puffy, but this matter here is very, very serious because I think we all can relate to this type of situation. All right, let's get into it. Okay. Okay. In her clinical practice, she deals with assault, trauma. In her forensic practice, she has comprehensive psychological assessment phases of her practice where she testifies in civil court and criminal court, or she also testified that she's a member of the American Psychological Association. She was the past president of the APA, the American Psychological Association. She specializes in anxiety disorders, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorders. She specializes in interpersonal violence and traumatic stress. She has over 30 years of practice in trauma and traumatic stress and has seen thousands of victims go through this. She has a license in New York, New Jersey, North Carolina, Connecticut, Virginia. She regularly appears in the Southern District, which is the federal court that Puffy's in right now. Regularly. Listen to that. She's regularly there. So she's with the prosecutors. She works with the prosecutors. She has a connection with the prosecutors. She has a relationship with the prosecutors because she frequently appears there. I want y'all to pay attention to that. Manhattan, and she also appears in the federal court in Brooklyn, the Eastern District of New York, and she's appeared over 60 times in court. She's an expert in criminal and forensic psychology, domestic violence. When a man takes it, y'all know the word. But, I can't say too much. All right, so we're going to get into this. Now, the government, the prosecution, she says she charges $600 an hour. Yeah, the kitty cat. $600 an hour she charged, right? Orally, she charges $6,000 a day. I mean, this woman got so many credentials. She over 30 years. You're like, hey, she charged $6,000 a day. Well, goddamn. You know what I'm saying? So, in other words, if me and you, regular Joe, 9-to-5 working people, decides to call her for a practice, for a treatment, she's charging us approximately $600 an hour, which means she works with high-profile people. In other words, but I'm just saying, for us, we can't afford her. She'll give us a card and recommend us to some low budget. See, it ain't all about no help. It ain't all about no help for some of these people. They only care about the money. I get it. She put so much study, so much hard work in. I'm pretty sure she's single. Because you can't accomplish all of that being married. I'm sorry. You ain't got no time. You was studying and doing essays. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm saying that because I want you to focus on why she's there, because of her credentials. Why she's there, because she has a relationship with the prosecutors. Why she's there, because she has testified over 60 times for the district attorney's office in Manhattan and in Brooklyn. And she's there because she's getting $600 a day, or she's probably getting $6,000. Excuse me, she gets $600 an hour, and she's probably getting, being at that court, $6,000 a day. You think she want them to call her back? Yeah. Two times a day of testifying is $12,000, baby. Call me for the whole week. You know what I'm saying? So now look. Now, this is the direct examination. This is the prosecutors. They asked her, why do victims remain in a relationship during domestic violence and abuse? She says there are 3 different types of abuse that happen in a domestic violence situations, abusive behaviors. Psychological and emotional abuse, financial abuse, and physical abuse. She had this video. She said, there's a phrase, right? She said, there's a phase. Love, attention from the abuser, companionship from the abuser, and an attachment bond where the victim becomes attached to the abuser. I know a lot of y'all can relate to that. Listen, love and attention from the abuser, the companionship from the abuser, and the attachment bond where the victim becomes attached to the abuser. So in other words, if you in love with somebody and you being abused, you're going to try your hardest to make sure your abuser is happy so the abuse don't continue. You want that attention, you want that affection, you want to make that abuser happy so you don't have to go through the trauma that you're dealing with that individual. Now, the third phase, right? The third phase are the psychological consequences and the disorders that if I leave, like what's going to happen to me financially, emotionally, and that this study has been around for 40 to 50 years. She says that in a domestic violence relationship where there's an abuser and a victim, hold on. Okay. She said that in domestic violence relationship where there's an abuser and the victim is powerless, excuse me, I'm going to say that again. Because like I said, I'm reading on the trends, but it's a little bit different on the screen than it is on paper. So I'm reading this with my bad eyes. Yeah, you know how old us young people are. Our eyes go bad when we get older, although we still wear glasses. All right, she says the dynamic in the domestic violence relationship where there's an abuser and a victim is power and control. All right, now pay attention. Control can come from hitting the victim, beating up the victim. The victim then begins to feel fear. Fear scared, she's walking on eggshells. So every time you get slapped up or get hit in the head with a Bacardi bottle, a gallon of Bacardi bottle like I did one time, right? You know, you start walking on eggshells because you know you can't play with this individual too, especially if you're the abuser. You know, you might abuse a female or a guy, and after a while, they hook off on you. You're like, oh, shoot. You already know. It set a tone now that this is the first time they assaulted me. Or better yet, or like what she's saying, if you're in an abusive relationship and you keep getting abused, when you walk through that door, you on eggshells. As a matter of fact, while you outside, you thinking, I gotta be home at a certain time. I can't have no dude's number on my phone or female's number on my phone. I gotta be home at a certain time. I gotta present myself a certain way because I know if I don't, it's just gonna be explosive in the household. It's gonna be explosive in our relationship. So this is why they bottle things up and they walking on eggshells, because they don't know how to act while they're dealing with the person that they're dealing with. This is some real deep stuff, right? And the victim just gets to the point of, how do I stay safe now? See what I'm saying? How do I feel safe now? Hold on. She says when the abuser, she said when the victim feels fear, they either have two reactions in an abusive domestic violence relationship. At the low, and it's just anxiety, right? And at the high end, they could feel like they're going to die or be killed. So they get so nervous, their hands are shaking, they probably want a cigarette, they want to smoke some weed, they nervous because an ass whipping is coming, or something is about to happen, or they fear what I just did, or they're about to kill me because you've been abused so many times physically that you already know what's coming. So you already afraid. Y'all following me? All right. Now, that was a good point. She made a very interesting point with the physical violence, because I'm pretty sure we all could relate to that, right? She said the abuser abuses the victim one time, then that sets the tone. The foundation sets the tone and the foundation in the victim's mind that they can be hurt by this person if I don't allow them to control me, or I don't agree, or I don't cooperate. Now that's real important. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to do something that you may not want, you may not want to do something that the other person want to do, the abuser. But you know you know that you've been in an abusive relationship with this person so long that if you decide to say no without even checking in, because it set a tone already, and you say, nah, I ain't gonna even do that. Let's say, for example, this girl must be talking about me. Cassie says, damn, I don't want to do this freak off. But lately, Daddy been wilding out, putting his hands on me, moving crazy. I'm going to just do this every time now. Because I already see, if I don't, he going to wild out. He already on ecstasy, he on Molly and whatever other drugs. He's drinking. This man is out of his mind because he's not thinking clearly. When you are influenced under intoxication of stomach, you're not really thinking clearly. You may feel you thinking clearly, but you're really not thinking clearly. So Puffy team, they object. They object to that because what the prosecution team is trying to do is they trying to take that illness and incorporate it with sex trafficking. You see what I'm saying? So what they trying to do is say he don't have to force her physically and verbally to have sex with other people, because by the abuse throughout the time they're in their relationship, it already set a tone where she's walking on eggshells. So she has to do this. So she don't have to say nothing. But you don't know that. Puffy probably just say no and wild out. And he probably let you go. But this is why the defense team objected to that. Because you can't really say that. You don't know what Puffy's thinking. It's been times Cassie even sat on the stand where they were supposed to have a freak off, and she was like, nah, I'm not trying to do it. And he canceled it. They had a bad night. He canceled it and went on their way. It's the time she had sex with other dudes he knew about. Is that a freak off? They together, but she having sex with other people. But we ain't going to get off the topic. We ain't the subject. So she kept going under this direct examination. But now the objection was sustained, so they had to strike that off the record. Right? Okay, she kept going. She said the victim goes through feelings of deep depression when there is sexual abuse. It's damaging. It's the highest types of psychological distress. There's shame, there's humiliation, there's degradation, and the shame, degradation, and humiliation prevents the victim from leaving, so they remain in an abusive relationship because of these thoughts and feelings. Then there's an emotional abuse. So stop right there. Now that makes a lot of sense, because I know females that, and even guys, I see this in guys, because this happened to me. You know what I'm saying? My last relationship, I was skinny. I was like 150 pounds soaking wet, because I was going through something. I was going through a sort of an abuse. I ain't trying to put all my business out there, but I was going through a form of abuse. Now that I went through all of this and I'm thinking back, I went through a form of abuse. You know what I'm saying? It was a two-way street. We was abusing each other, whether it was verbally, it wasn't physically, but it was definitely psychological abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse. You know what I'm saying? And I started to lose a lot of weight. Wasn't eating right, wasn't eating the things I was used to eating. I was bottled up in the bedroom, wasn't really talking to nobody. And now that I got my life together, look at me, I'm chunky, baby, because I'm eating, I'm not stressed. See what I'm saying? So I see that in a lot of females. They always top-notch, got their hair done, got their nails done, got their shoes up to par. And then when they get into an abusive relationship with a certain man, their insecurities kick up. They feel low. Now they ain't doing their hair. They not doing their nails. They caught up on bills because they giving all their money to this dude that ain't paying no bills. And he ain't doing, you see what I'm saying? This is the financial abuse. So now they feel so low, they don't even want to go out no more. Now they stuck in a room and just getting high, or they drinking, or they watching TV, or they just gossiping on YouTube or whatever, social media, you know what I'm saying? But you get where I'm coming from. All right, so let's continue. Emotional abuse, that's the next one. Emotional abuse, they get the demeaning, low self-esteem, depression, low self-perception they can't talk about with nobody. So it keeps the victim stuck. So it keeps the victim stuck. They don't want to go nowhere. Y'all paying attention to that? They feel so low that they will stay with their abuser because now in their mind, they're not going to be successful nowhere. So you look at Cassie's situation. She's with a multi-billionaire. She's going to red carpet. She's going to VMA Awards. She's going to the BET Awards. She's going to the Met Gala. We're around a bunch of Hollywood millionaires. She's on the red carpet. They taking her pictures. She's in Vogue. She's in People magazine. She's flying here. She's flying here. She's doing so much she never did in her life. But now to go back to an apartment with her mother and father with no income coming in, she can't accept that. As my wife said, money is the root to all evil because she don't want to give up that life. Not only that, she don't want to lose the man she loved because a lot of us stay with our abusers because we love them. But she's thinking of both things. She's thinking about the man she loved that she don't want to lose, and she's thinking about this high life she definitely don't want to lose. Okay. Victims, as I said, victims and being real contentious, deliberate by not using the, excuse me, hold on. Okay, they were saying that, actually, no. Okay, so what I'm getting from here is to pay attention because while she's testifying, she keeps saying she. When you're a psychiatrist or something like that, or dealing with a psychological domestic abuse, when you start addressing the crowd, you always talk about the abuser and the victim and the abuser. But as she keep going on her testimony, she keeps saying she. So making you think of Cassie. They have real word semantics in this thing here, man. That's why I say, when you catch a case, it's best for you to get a lawyer because listen, that legal game is crazy. All right, let me go back to the cross-examination. She kept slipping up saying that. All right. The next phase is the deep financial phase. Now, this is control of the victim is financial independence. A lot of times the victim is afraid to leave because they need resources to leave the abuser. To leave the abuser controls the housing mortgage or the rent or travel money, food, clothing, and the victim feels trapped so they can't leave. They don't leave. Now, at this point, the clinical psychological was saying when she was answering the question, she needs resources to leave. She felt trapped. Puffy Lloyds objected. They objected to that, and the judge sustained. So they had to strike that from the record. Why? Because we know Cassie didn't leave because she was in love with her abuser. We're not going to say because she was afraid for her life, because we already hear testimony she was flying here by herself, flying there with her friends, flying there with the side pieces like Kud Kudi, Michael G. B. Jordan, all these other dudes. So she had time to move away and run away, but she chose not to because of the high life. So they wanted to strike that off the record, like, you're not going to use that against Puff, because now they're going to try to incorporate it and say that he was forcing her to stay because he was taking care of everything. He was paying everything. Or, why shouldn't he? If I'm a millionaire and a billionaire and I got my main side piece, I'm not going to take care of her? I'm not going to give her no money? I'm a billionaire. Baby, you ain't got to do nothing. When we go, you see what he told Meek Mill? Yo, man, let's go over here. Let's go shopping. And Meek Mills flew with him and went shopping. Now Meek Mills is upset to talk on behalf of Puff because of what everybody else is saying. So he let society choose who he deal with. So now he up there talking about no Diddy. You ain't say that on the boat with Diddy with matching clothes like y'all in a relationship. Now all of a sudden it's no Diddy. Come on, y'all, talk back to me. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that share button. Tell a friend I'm up here. Now look. Now she said you don't need all the abusers, those type of abusers, to be present. It could just be one type of abuser. It could be a verbal abuse. You don't have to need all of those combined. But if you got all of those combined, you really need to talk to somebody. You really need to get away from that person. That person is just, they financial abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse. You just need to leave that person alone. That person is no good. That person don't even need help. No, they need help, but they can't be with you. They need the help bad. Maybe something happened in their life. Maybe they was raped. Maybe they was molested. Maybe they grew up like that from a piece of crap parents. I know some people like that grew up with a piece of crap parents, and they grow up in a survival mode to the point where now they don't even know how to turn it off because they used to being independent because of what happened to them in the past. That's a trauma. That's a distress. That's a disorder. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know why he even need to be on the stand. Who, Kid Cudi? Nah, no, he need to be on the stand because right after this, we gonna get into Kid Cudi. Oh man, did they wash him up? Oh man, wait till I get into Kid Cudi. But we getting into this right now. Now, the psychological abuse, you don't need all four. Like I said, the victim there maybe one of them is good enough to keep them. Check this part out, y'all. The prosecution is still doing a direct examination on the witness stand. The clinical psychologist, Dr. Hughes, Yale, Nova, Southwest, down in Florida, Hamilton, with all these degrees, right? And I'm saying it like that because you would realize that, or you should realize that you shouldn't be messing up, right? I'm just saying, you shouldn't be messing up your testimony. You got all these degrees, been doing a 35-year course examination. You deal with the mind. So when they come to you, you already should be on point, right? Yeah, you right here for the knowledge. Kid Cudi shouldn't be on there. He really didn't say nothing, but he helped the defense team. We gonna get into that. Because his testimony backfired. You know when they start talking about, yo, read this, or remember when you met with the prosecutors? Yo, when they hit that line, and I hit that line, you met with the prosecutors, I'll be like, here it come. And look, she said, so the prosecution said, what about when love is shown to the victim in the conjunction with the abuse? Now they trying to fit it in with Puff, right? She said the abuser is abusing the victim, but showing love. No, they saying the abuser is abusing the victim, but showing love at the same time. The psychologist said this is the honeymoon stage. I said the honeymoon stage. Yo, they got all kinds of stages for abuse, man. The honeymoon stage, but it makes sense. Check it out. Stay with me. Check it out. This is the honeymoon stage. The abuser shows the victim love to psychologically confuse the victim and to create a psychological attachment, a desire to be wanted, and she called that a trauma bond. That's interesting. She said they call it a trauma bond, and that the victim, when the abuser does this, that turns to her abuser for support, and then the term came up, then another term came, right? Another term is called love bombing or bombing, like a bomb. You know, the boo love, but the boo and butter up and stuff, right? Now, so when the victim gets the courage enough to leave the abuser, shows him love, gets them money. Hold on, let me read that again. When the victim gets enough courage to leave the abuser, the abuser shows them love, gives them money, buys them gifts, takes them shopping, gives them attention, brings them flowers, does things you understand for them to keep them there, and that before the victim finally leaves. It usually takes them multiple attempts to leave the domestic violence situation, and that victim often returns after they leave. They often return for love, companionship, or the abuser starts to talk to them or harass them, and they feel like the abuser is harassing and stalking them, I might as well go. I might as well go back. Yeah, they say I might as well go back. And that's very interesting because a lot of us can concur with the love bombing. A lot of us done did it. I did it. I know you did it. You know when you do something wrong, you want to make the person happy. You know what I'm saying? You might want to buy them something, take them out. Like I said, massage they whole body, kiss them up, tell them how much they love them. Some females will cook the man the biggest dinner of all time. He walking, he like, damn, you went in. Y'all love him. She like, yeah, I got him. He's happy. See, that's the love bomb. That's the love bomb. And he just totally forget that she cheated on him with his best friend. You know what I'm saying? I'm just making an example. I mean, you're not gonna forget that. But I'm just trying to make an example that if a man finds this woman cheating, this is the type of thing some females will do. You know what I'm saying? In this day and time, y'all say y'all the new guys. So more than likely, y'all giving these guys that ain't got no money some money for gas, some money to fix their cars. You see where I'm going with this. All right. Now, the next phase, how do victims cope in an abusive relationship? They go get outside help. They get a restraining order. They go to the police. They go to a shelter, or they go to a family or friend's house, someone at a church, the pastor, or they go to counseling. The most common, which is the number 3, they talk to the abuser and they try to negotiate or comply, and they begin to fight back. The victim also has another strategy that they call, that they either play or appease the abuser. They apologize unnecessarily, doing things they don't want to do, and they say yes. And when they want to say no, there's 2 types of self-defense: passive self-defense, where the victim blocks punches and curl up on the floor like Cassie did, or does nothing that threatens the abuser so that the abuser can stop abusing them. And then there's an active self-defense. They punch back and they yell back and they talk back. Another coping strategy to avoid not dealing with it. You see what I'm saying? So after a while, you get mad and you crack somebody in the head with a gallon of Bacardi bottle. You know what I'm saying? I'm making a joke of it, but it's really serious, because this is the point where you snap. You see what I'm saying? This is why I say a lot of women is in jail for killing their husbands or their boyfriend because of this type of abuse. They snap. They can't leave. They probably try. They probably get away. The guy's stalking them, calling all over the place, calling all the family members. He camped out outside in the car. You see what I'm saying? He popping up at her job, popping up at the parties. He here and she over here, here and she over there. And he's always popping up, and she feels she can't get away. So one of the last best things they normally do, which is the last of the Mohegans, is they snap. Because it's all a psychological process. And then they end up killing a person. Hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. It's another coping strategy is avoidance and not dealing with it. I know something like that too. Talking about it, not thinking about it, just trying to forget it. Another coping strategy. Minimizing, they make excuses for the abuser. Oh, he didn't really mean to do it. Yo, he was at work. You know, he hit me in the head. I mean, he was at work. The boss got on his case. He already woke up with an excuse. Woke up with an attitude. I tried to stay away from him. Then he went out to work. The boss got on his case, and he came home and he snapped and he slapped me because I didn't wash the dishes. So you make an excuse for you getting slapped because you didn't wash the dishes, because his boss did this and his boss did that, and he woke up. Now you're making excuses for his garbage. You know what I'm saying? And I noticed that with myself. I had to stop that. Not saying put my hands on it. I had to stop that type of abuse, because I will feel a certain way. And when it gets to me, my whole mood will shift, sometimes half the day, because I'm that mad. And what happens is I start to lash out on the closest people to me. Not intentionally, but I don't see what I'm doing. They see what I'm doing, but I don't see what I'm doing. And after a while, people keep telling me what I'm doing, and then people are shying away from me when I walk past. I know I gotta check myself. I gotta check myself because it's gonna come to the point now they walking on eggshell. You see what abuse is coming from? That's abuse. Now I'm abusing a household. So now I gotta talk to somebody. I gotta make this right. I gotta communicate more about my feelings. This to make sure that I'm not abusing my wife, my children, and just my household alone. You want a happy home, you gotta be happy yourself. All right? All right, let's get into it. All right. And that is another strategy is the disassociation. They zone out, they space out, and this has the ability to impair the memory in the brain and impair the memory in the brain. Another coping strategy is getting involved with drugs and alcohol. Victims can still be positive and love their abuser while coping even years after the relationship is over. So the clinical psychologist in forensic, that's what she's saying. And I can relate to that. You know what I'm saying? You get some man that happened in it happened in my last relationship. You know what I'm saying? I was going through so much and the order to coke because I had no one to talk to. I can't talk to my mans because they're gonna be like, come on, man up, man. You gonna let this female do this? I don't want to hear that. I need help. You can't talk to the other females because females gonna give you input from female. You need to talk to a guy, you know, and I had nobody to talk to. I was all stuck outside of New York City, and I just started drinking. I'm talking I was drinking every day, even before I went to work. Normally, I don't do that. I get up and go to work, come home, and then I'll do that. I started drinking like 4, 5, 6 on the way to work. I come out of work, I'm in the parking lot, I crack open the E&J, and I'm going in because I'm so stressed. Pull up at the house, and I sit there, and I just take a deep breath. Because in my mind, I'm walking on eggshell. What the hell I got to get into now when I get into this household? It's an abuse. And I'm not sending no shots to nobody. I'm talking about myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm using myself as an example because like I said, we all been through this. So, now, she said that even after the victim leaves, she could still love her abuser while coping. Here you go, her. You heard again? Love her abuser. Not the victim love the abuser. See what she going with? You see the mind games they playing on the stand? You know what I'm saying? Because when you keep hearing her, you thinking of Cassie. Right? She going it again. She's slipping it out. Slipping it out. She know what she's doing. You got 30 years in this, mama. You know what you're doing. Right? The abuser coping with the relationship, even after the victim leaves, she still can love her abuser while coping with the relationship. Even after years after the relationship is over. Sorry about that, yo. My people's over here texting me and stuff. Now, the government prosecution is direct examining the witness, right? What about disclosure? Sometimes the victims wait for months or even years for fear of being judged, shamed, economic, and finance, or if they disclose it, friends that her and the abuser, let me rewind that again. What about disclosure? She says, sometimes victims wait months or even years for fear of being judged, shamed, economic, and finance, or if they disclose it to friends that her and the abuser, that the victim and the abuser had may not be friends with them anymore. And that's called delayed. So you just delaying your whole breakup, right? Disclosure, the ability of the victim to disclose what the person is going through the clinical psychologist, the forensic psychologist with all the big degrees, getting paid $600 or $6,000 a day, said the victim is more The victim is more likely to disclose their problems to a stranger than they would to family or a friend, especially if the abuser is being perpetrated by a family member. This goes on with females that get raped in the family. They get quiet. This is why. A number that disclose the victim only speaks up when they're in a safe environment or they have left the relationship. So the judge already told her that was struck from the record. If she can't use the word her, because the defense now, they objected. Remember, I tell you, she kept using the word her. The defense object, like, Your Honor, look, she keeps doing this. You see what I'm saying? This is the second time they objected to her saying her. You know? So the defense is going at it. So the judge is like, strike that from the testimony. Because you're being biased by continuing to say that. You're not supposed to say that as a psychiatrist. You already know you speak about abuser and victim, not her and abuser. What are you doing? She knows what she's doing, right? So the testimony has been non-biased. She said it's non-biased. Victims turn to a trusted friend, a mother, a sister, or a best friend, right? That right there implies that the victim is a female and that it unfolds over time. The victim never just comes right out and tells the whole story they give out. Piecemeal, a little piece there, a little piece here. You understand where I'm going with it. They never want to talk about the major details because of the shame. And I could agree with that, because I know some females that told me that they've been molested and they never talked about it. You know what I'm saying? They never talked about it until years later when they're adults, because now they feel safe. They feel in an environment where they're safe with the person that they trust with their darkest secrets, and that's when they start to unleash, guilt, and they try to minimize what they're disclosing, and they won't say the name of the abuser, the impact of the trauma on the memory. You forget, lack of details, you forget, and you have a problem recalling actual facts. The frequency of the abuse is repeated. The frequency of the abuse, the repeated abuse, definitely affects the memory and recall. Victims have better memory and better recall when the abuse is done around the maker. Excuse me. Okay, so that was the end of the direct cross-examination, right? So now we get in the Puff's lawyer, dude named Mr. Bott, right? Mr. Bott was part, I believe, of Young Thug's trial, right? I tell you, he got a whole dream team. So Puff Lord, Mr. Bott, hold on. Now they're gonna do the cross-examine. So he gets up. He got his suit on. He's smiling. Cause Diddy lawyers, from what I hear, when they come at you, they give you the smile like, you done messed up, right? You remember that movie, A Minister Side? You done messed up, right? So he gets up. He said, Miss Hughes, isn't it there? I heard your testimony and I understand your experience and your qualifications, and you've been doing this for 27, 30 years, but isn't there individuality in every victim? You can't diagnose somebody until you hear what they say, until you've heard what they have to say. Isn't this how you conduct your forensic and clinical practice? She said, yeah, Puff's attorney, uh, she said, yeah, to Puff's attorney. Everybody doesn't fit into the box. They fit into the box. They, Miss Hughes, and each individual has something to say, as he's saying. Hold on a minute. Now, at this point, from what I'm hearing and I'm reading it, you know, the psychiatrist's starting to go, she's starting to get deflated because you're up there talking about her, and what's going on. And you're trying to incorporate what you're saying with this sex trafficking, but you never interviewed Cassie. You never treated Cassie. So you don't know what's going on in her mind. You only know what's going on from what you read it, but you up there testifying. That's like me saying I got a psychiatrist and he said, yeah, I've been treating for 5 years, but you haven't spoken to me one time. That's what's going on right here. All this been going on all this time. You have not treated Cassie. So you don't know what's in her mental. You just know what you're reading, and you come to your how they say, they sick nuffis, if I'm pronouncing it right, on her conclusion on what is the abuse about, right? Okay. He says, when you see patients in your practice, you listen carefully to the patient, right? She says, correct. Everything he asks her, as always at the end, you may say correct or disagree, right? Everything she says, correct or disagree. He says you pay attention to every detail, right? You listen. She says, no, he said, yes, you listen carefully, right? She says, yes, every patient is different, right? She says, yes, every domestic violence situation is unique. Right, yes. He then gets into the comparison and the contrast of the forensic psychology and her forensic practices and versus her clinical practice. For her forensic practice, she goes to other sources for info, court judges, and the jury. You listen to what the person has to say, right, Mrs. Hughes? She said yes. Then she says in a civil case, misissues this. Puffy's lawyer, excuse me, it's a little typo here. Puffy's lawyer in a civil case, the interviewee, the patients will have certain motivation. Hold on. Y'all all right out there? Hit that like button. I'm sorry. I'm getting to it. I want to be right and correct with you. I don't want to give you no half this and half that. I need you to understand everything that's going on. Okay. It said, yes, you have talked to the individual, right? The forensic psychologist says. Yes. Then the term came up called Mindering melogenering, and I guess this is some kind of term specific to a psychology, right? So Puffy's lawyer, they bring up another term called validity scale, and he says misuse. Don't some people try to fool the personality assessment, testimony, response style, they minimize certain things, they exaggerate or they practice avoidance. The clinical psychologist said, yes. Now here we go. Y'all put your seatbelts on. So Mr. B says to the clinical psychologist on the stand, Ms. Hughes, isn't it true that you've given the same testimony today that you've always given in court matters or criminal or civil cases? She said, yes. So all the testimony that I just said to you, She says to, and she said every time she get on a stand, she don't change it at all, right? So she's giving you the same testimony for Cassie's behalf that she gave for everybody else. Yet she never spoke to Cassie. All right, which y'all follow me here. Ms. Hughes, haven't you been hired by the court, the Southern District of New York, by the Department or Justice in the past? She said, yes. Haven't you been hired for $600 an hour, $6,000 a day by the federal court in Brooklyn, the Eastern District of New York, Department of Justice? She says, yes, Mr. Box. You have given the same exact testimony that you've given today before in other courtrooms that you've gave today. He said, the questionnaire, he asked the question, are you sure you haven't read any info on this case? Are you sure you ain't read any info on this case? She doesn't deny it. She denies it. She denies it. She denies it. She says there is no fact I can give you. Then she starts talking about the bioneurology of the brain. Mr. Box tells the clinical psychologist, I can tell you about Cassie because I've been here in the court listening to her testimony, but all you could tell me about is your experience in 27 years. Your experience in 27 years of psychology, your degrees, your master's degree, your doctorate, your president of the American Psychology Association. Mr. Box asked her, you haven't spoken with one witness in this case, right? She said, yes, Mr. Hughes. Miss Hughes, of all your forensic work is dealing with victims that you have civil suits that want money, right? She kind of goes around that by not, she's not really trying to answer because she's deflated now. Because you're up there talking about you got all this experience for 27 to 30 years and dealing with all this brain activity, dealing with abuse, but yet not once prior to the prosecution putting you up there, you not once interviewed Cassie to know what her psychological process is dealing with. You claim you ain't read nothing about the case. So you don't know nothing about her treatment. When you go to a therapist or you go to a psychiatrist, the first thing is you get, because I know I've been there. When you go to a therapist or a psychiatrist, the first thing you do is you get an intake. You don't even meet your therapist yet or your psychiatrist. You meet someone that's intake that they ask you questions of why you here, how you found them, what's going on with you, what you think can be better, and they write it all down in a computer for your actual therapist to see. So when your therapist see, they know how to direct their questions to you. They know how to treat you. They know what's your problem. They know why you're here because it's all written down already. But she hasn't done none of that. But yet she's getting paid $6,000 an hour in a day, and you've been a psychiatrist for 30 years, and you ain't even interviewed this young lady one time. What that says, she don't know nothing. She was just there for the money. Come on now, we get into it. They said now she looked kind of pissed off on the stand. And her tone, her body language is everything. It kind of changes now. See what I just put out there? That's how she's feeling. She's like, this mother smoking her boots, the dream team. Come on, let's go. The lawyer, Beaumore, Mr. B, the lawyer, the more he sees that, the more he's going in. And you know, my wife always told me about your emotions. She said, and I read this anyway. I don't know how to speak with my wife. We just have a beautiful relationship. She said, you need to stop showing your emotions too much. And I'll be like, nah, I'm just be mad. She like, no, because when you show your emotions to something that's bothering you and the person that's bothering you see it, you giving them power. Now they know they can get to you. You see what I'm saying? So by her acting like that, he's seen it that, oh, I kind of weakness. I got her. Now he goes in. Check this out now. Y'all buckle y'all seatbelts. Y'all all right? Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Check it out. Mr. Box asks, Miss Hughes, on the stand, Miss Hughes, on the stand, people can have new memories when money is involved. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I remember a 1983 lawsuit. I remember what happened now. You know what I'm saying? A lot, when money is involved. Correct. People's memory can be related to provocation. People's memory can be related to lying, right? Or the verification. He says that not biology of the brain, right? Day that I think she checked me out. Now this is where I'm going in for. Hold on. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I get it right for you because there's a lot of in-between conversations when I'm reading from these transcripts. You know what I mean? It's not the actual transcripts, but the person that's in the courthouse, they speed writing this. All across examination, they're screenwriting this. And brother pen game is serious. You understand what I'm saying? So you guys gotta give me a minute. Now, from the assistant U.S. attorney, everything she said, she described, right? Cassie said, yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Okay, 100%. If you had been in this courtroom last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which, all right. That's my man there talking. All right, there you go. Mr. Bott is questioning, cross-examining Dr. Hughes. This is Mr. Bott. Dr. Hughes. You've been retained many times as an expert witness. Dr. Hughes, you trained other clinical psychologists and forensic psychologists like yourself how to testify in court. Am I right? She starts talking about something else. She starts talking about something unrelated. But Mr. Bott, yeah, he got her. He got it. Now she started talking about different things. Mr. Bott brought her right back on the track. You ain't going to start navigating from this. See what he said? You got to screen them first. But she never talked to Cassie. She never talked to Cassie. That's a blow. So you just let the jury know you was there for the money. You don't have a clue what's going on in Cassie's head. So she says, true, you prepare other clinical, they say you prepare other clinical psychologists and forensic psychologists like yourself how to go through direct examination and cross-examination. Dr. Hugh again start talking about something over there. She don't answer the question. She's talking about something totally different, right? He brings her back. Don't go nowhere, Dr. Hughes. There was a winder down of May. All right. There was a winner done in May of 2015, and the title of the winner was Expert Witness Testimony. Dr. Hughes said, who did that? Mr. Box said, you, he said. You did. Yo, you can't make this up, man. Yo, look, man. This is the prosecution team? Y'all think Diddy getting convicted of this? Yo, listen, man. Like I said, I'm not for Diddy. I'm not on his side. I'm not on even Cassie's side. I ain't on nobody's side. Because it don't got nothing to do with me. But I do sympathize with the abuse. But like I said, this has nothing to do with sex trafficking. This has nothing to do with the RICO. Okay? Nothing to do. Now, she said, oh, well, I don't remember. Can you refresh my memory? Can you? Dr. Bott said, sure. and when Mr. Bott gets ready to show her the winner, and she said, that started, who did it? He said, you. Now he shows her the document. She like, wait, who did? He like, you, right? You, the government prosecution jumped up and said, can we have the sidebar? Can we have a sidebar? When you hear sidebar, you know somebody messed up, right? You're like, hold up, wait a minute. Let's sidebar, right? So you can have their sidebar on each side. They asking questions. The prosecution or the defense and what that means. Hold on. Y'all all right out there? Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Lucy, wait till I get the Kid Cudi. I'm going to be on here until I'm done. This is going to blow your minds. So the prosecution, like I said, the attorneys, they up there, judges, the bench, they talking in secret so nobody can hear what they saying. They don't want the jury to hear what they saying. You know, they like, and he's like, and you know, they all whispering, the judges covering the microphone. You know, they don't want nobody to hear what's being discussed, right? So the judge says overrule, which means whatever you objected, overrule. So it continues. She's in trouble. She's in trouble. She's in trouble. Now, he said there was a monarch done in May 2015 called the expert witness. Testimony, he said, are you familiar with that? She says, who did that? She said, who did that? He said, you, the government, the prosecution jumped up again, says, everybody sitting in the courtroom was like, oh, it started because she went back. It went back to the objections, right? So they do the sidebar. Okay, so the judge objected this. I mean, the judge sustained it this time, so removed that testimony. Yeah, they removed it. So he says, okay, fine. He goes back at her. Okay, no. So now the judge, he did sustain it, but he did says, he told Puff Lawyer, you can ask her about it when you see there's inconsistencies, because there wasn't an inconsistency pertaining to the case. Now talking about what she did. So he said, you can ask her that when you see inconsistencies in her testimony where she's lying, you can question her about certain parts, but I'm not going to let you give her the whole, let you give her the whole thing, and then we're here for 2 hours. So he said, no, you're not going to do that. He said, I'm not going to do that. All right, cool. All right. I'm getting to it. All right. So we're going back to the young lady, the psychologist forensic, who has all these degrees, got her own practice, charged $6,000 a day. She's top notch, right? Okay. So Dr. Hughes gave the clinical psychologist and the forensics psychologist that taught in Yale, master's degree, bachelor's degree, and all of this and that, the president of whatever, you know, the DOJ, by the Department of Justice, the very people that are prosecuting. This is who she worked for. This is her team. This is her peoples, right? So trying to find where they go back to start questioning. Okay, he says earlier, Mr. Bott actually questions her about the training of other clinical psychologists like herself, how to act in the courtroom. How you give a testimony, there was another part to this whiner. She gave helping expert witnesses handle stress in the courtroom, coping with mechanisms, how to deal with the objections, how to deal with the questions from the defense attorney, how to deal with the objections, conduct, the stand on another part, know your audience, 2 sections under your audience, and know your jury, know your judge in case it was a bench trial and there is no jury. You can check this part out. All right. So he basically the defense team is pretty much gearing her up because you're supposed to screen, especially if someone is going through a mental situation. You're supposed to coach them on how to be cross-examined, how to handle yourself, how you handle through the objections and so forth. But yet, she ain't talk to Cassie at all. And this is the one that's going through the physical abuse, the mental abuse, the verbal abuse, the financial abuse, everything she claimed that she's going through. This psychiatrist who's down with the government, that's getting paid $6,000 a day or hour, has not interviewed her at all. See why Tory Lanez is coming home? They so crooked, right? So Puff lawyer asked Dr. Hughes on the stand, Dr. Hughes, isn't it true that most of your income that you make today is from the court-related work? Isn't it true that the majority of your income comes from you coming into the court, giving expert witness testimony? She said, no, that's not true. I need 1,000 people in here. She said, no, that's not true. Hold on. He said, really? He said, doctor, you are sure that most of your income that you make today is not from your clinical practice or your private forensic practice or your private clinical practice? It's from you being a witness on the stand? That's not true. He says 60% of your income comes from court-related work where you are an expert witness, and only 40% of your income comes from a private practice. She said, well, that's not most. He said, it's more than 50%. He said, it's 60%, the 40%, that's most. Yo, she was deflated, man, because she got caught lying. She said, now most of my work don't come from the courts. 60% of your income comes from the court of you not interviewing nobody with psychological problems. And you just get up there to say whatever you've been saying repeatedly for 60 times in a courtroom for 30 years, and you're getting paid $6,000. You sound like a legal aid lawyer. They don't care about your case. They don't want to really, they don't even remember your name. They're just being appointed by the district attorney who they work for. And they trying to get out of the legal aid service and lane so they can become prosecutors. You see how the game goes? You see what happened? See what happened to a lot of these brothers and sisters that had legal aids? They work for the prosecution. That's who she worked for. So she's just getting free money. That's why they love us coming to jail. They love us going back and forth into the court. They get paid. They get paid. Now look, and you don't give a Southern District of New York and Brooklyn a low Manhattan rate instead of your $600 an hour or $6,000 a day charge, then less because of the amount of work that they give you. He said in the last 25 years, Dr. Hughes, you haven't published any work in the 1990s. You wrote an article, but lately you ain't published no work. You're not a tenor as your professional job. Your professional job as you're a volunteer. I'm gonna read that again. You're not tenured as a professor. You're not tenured as your professional job. Your professional job is your volunteer job. So by her volunteering, whenever the prosecution called her, hey, we need you. What? We got some guy coming because they have a relationship with her. And you've been helping us throughout the lane. We know what you're going to say, going to get us certified. So we calling you. All right, you know my rate. Don't worry. We got a $6,000 check. Volunteer work. She ain't busting her behind. She's saying everything she's been saying for years. And she's not even interviewing Cassie, like I said. Come on now. He said articles, but lately you ain't published no work. You're not a tenant. Oh, I read that. Facility, right? And since 1998, most of your work has been being a witness for the government, doing this type of witness testimony, and you keep saying, you get on the stand and you say the same thing every time you come. Puff's lawyer, Mr. Bott, said, Dr. Hughes, you've been doing this for 27 years. In 27 years, you have never come into the court to defend a man accused of a sex crime. Not one time that you came into court to testify against a man accused of a sex crime, but this is your lane. Something is wrong. She's doing volunteer work. She don't care about y'all. She don't care about us. She care about that check. I think at one point in time she probably did because she wanted to make that buku money, so she put her head in the books. But after she started making that money, care about you. I'm getting free money. They could keep me here for 2 days. That's $12,000. I bet she got a big driveway. Bet you got a pool and a jacuzzi in the back. Come on now, let's be for real here. Dr. Hughes, you got all these degrees, bachelor degree, master's degree, psychology, PhD, postdoc, Yale president, American Psychology Association, but in 27 years, you have never, not once, come into the court and defend an accused of a sex crimes? Her reply was, I don't evaluate offenders. Oh man, I didn't think that mattered since that's your lane, right? But they sure don't judge him, but you judge him, but he can judge him. I won't work for him. Mr. Bott, Puff's lawyers, shout out to London. Puff's lawyers shout out. Mr. Bott, hold on. All right, this is getting juicy now. Hold up, gotta get some water. I see why Minister Farrakhan always have water at his podium. Because man, you be up here talking, you get dry mouth. Mr. Hughes, Dr. Hughes, you've had a number of meetings with the federal prosecutors today. Hughes, you've had a number of meetings with federal prosecutors today. No, excuse me. Dr. Hughes, you've had a number of meetings with federal prosecutors before this court case? She said, yeah. He said, you met with federal prosecutors 6 times before this case. I'm trying to find times before this case. This trial, you met with them in person. You met with them by video call. All of these meetings that you met with the prosecutors were more than an hour long. You've communicated with them by email, and you've gone over questions and testimony that they are going to ask about when you get on the stand. It's interesting that they called her and she speaks for them for hours through emails and all of this. But not once she spoke to Cassie. Yo, ain't it ill that Puff lawyers, like I was talking about, the assistant, he can remember something that would happen in 9 minutes, but he can remember everything in 2000. That's how Puff lawyers is lethal. How they knew he met with the prosecutors 9 minutes before court? Because they got private investigators. Anything they doing in the prosecution, they being watched. Anything. So they already know about the emails, right? Dr. Hughes, cross-examination. Dr. Hughes, you don't know the facts on this case. Dr. Hughes, what facts did the prosecution tell you in these meetings? That you met with them 6 times in person, Dr. Hughes, last week? Now, hold on. Puff's defense laid out the game plan, Dr. Hughes. You met with the government again. After the trial started, Dr. Hughes, isn't it true? Isn't it true that you are here as an expert witness? You met with the government again, with the federal prosecutors, after Cassie testified. So that means you met them last week now. There you go. When he said that, the prosecution jumped up. Sidebar. You see what I'm saying? They like, hold on, how they know the sidebar? They know where he's going, right? So another sidebar. They stopped the court again, everybody in the courtroom. Now, he said you was in there. All right, hold on. Because my man over here talking. Okay, the sidebar time is out. They stopped the court. They came back in. Mr. Bop wasn't trying to let up on his setup, so he showed no mercy. Come on, Dream Team, let's go. Come on. He went for the jugular vein. He asked Dr. Hughes, what topics were discussed with the government? Dr. Hughes said, I was helping them about the case, I swear. Remember, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Yes, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Said, okay, Mr. Boss said, you went right. He went at the juggler again. He said, topics you did. What topics did you discuss with the government? After we gave our opening statement and after Cassie testified, she said, I was helping them. I was helping them with their case. He said, you as a clinical psychologist, forensic psychologist, were helping these lawyers with a legal case? Saying, like, how could you help them? And these are lawyers, right? She said, how could you, now he said, how could you be helping them and you know nothing? Because you're just a doctor dealing with clinical science. You're not dealing with the legal matter. So how are you in there helping them with a case? You're not supposed to do that. See the setup? You see the setup? That's a whole setup. Because she was probably telling them, this is how you come at me. This is what you got to say. This is how you incorporate. That's why I said, you see how they trying to incorporate this with the sex trafficking, with the abuse. This is bull crap. Check it out. She said, I was helping. He said, oh, Doctor said, how could you be helping them if you know nothing about the facts and you needed 6 to 8 meetings to educate these lawyers? So in other words, he's lining it up, letting them know that she was setting it up and she was helping them and they was helping how to incorporate this case into sex trafficking when it comes to abuse. She met with them 6 times for what? You helping them with a case. What case you talking about? All you need to do is cross-examine Cassie and tell them your outcome or what you seen Cassie so they could use it and you corroborate it. You in the office with them 6 times doing legal work? Really? Okay. She must have been watching too much Law and Order. All right. The case, the government jumped up again. Sidebar. They want another sidebar. They want another sidebar. So a sidebar again. They came back. And Mr. Bye, he goes back to his questions. Dr. Hughes, didn't the government and the prosecution share drafts of your testimony with you before the trial? Dr. Hughes, the help you were given you were emailing the prosecutors for briefs, language you were telling them. What language to put in their briefs? So you giving them a language, a medical language to put in the brief. Why? You don't do briefs. You're not a lawyer. What's going on here? You see the setup? This is the setup. They don't have nothing. So this is the only thing. We got to incorporate the sex trafficking with the abuse. That's why she said on the stand, that when you get abused, it sets a tone to the point where you don't have to do anything no more to hit nobody. Because now if the females is afraid of you and she don't want to do something, she's going to do it because in her mind, you already set the tone. So she's trying to incorporate that with the sex traffic. When Cassie said, I didn't want to do it, but I didn't want to make her mad. You see the setup? 8 times you was in there doing legal matters and you're a goddamn doctor. You're not a lawyer. You're not a judge. You're not a prosecutor. Come on now. Y'all don't see the setup of this black man? All right. Dr. Hughes, what were you doing? He said, Dr. Hughes, what were you doing? Was you advocating for their side for the prosecution meeting? Meaning you can't be meaning you're biased. You're compromised, Dr. Hughes. You're getting paid by the Justice Department, which is the same people that pay these prosecutors. You met with them again. You knew you would be a witness in this case, yet you were emailing them language to put in their briefs. You were helping them to get their testimony together. And he says, Doctor, aren't you supposed to be here as a blind witness? She said, yeah. Oh my God. Jesus, you hear me? Oh Lord. You're supposed to be biased. You helping them with legal matter. So he just blew it up. You compromised. You compromised. Matter of fact, you compromised the whole prosecution team because they went and got outside help that's not even a lawyer. And they took someone who's not a lawyer, who haven't been nowhere in legal class or school, and took the language, a medical language, and put it into legal language. You compromised. You just messed up your whole test. But yet she got 30 years on the job. You see what I'm talking about? The prosecution trying to set Puff up? Come on, let's get back into it. All right. Testimony together, and he says, aren't you supposed to be here as a blind witness? And she said, yes. Yeah. He said, I have no more questions, Grace. Excuse me. He said, I have no more questions, Your Honor. So he pretty much shut that down. Now, the prosecutions, they want to re-cross-examine. So now they got to clean it up, right? They got to clean it up. So the U.S. attorney says, haven't you been retained by one of the defense attorneys that is in the courtroom today? And Dr. Hughes said, yeah, yes, I have. So this is the prosecution trying to even the play, right? Trying to even the play because now, since they hired you hired one from the the defense team, right? Check this out. So they try to do the even field thing, that they've been busted and out and exposed, that their witness is helping them with what they say, and that they're going to give the witness the transcripts and so forth for testimony of Cassie, and met with them 6 or 7 times. The prosecution says, hadn't one of Puffy's lawyers retained you before? Said before. It's not talking about Cassie case. Before. The prosecution have no more questions. Everybody was like, oh. So what you retained before by the prosecution team? They needed help dealing with a sex trafficking problem or a rape case. We don't know. But it has nothing to do with Cassie case. It has nothing to do with you going into the defense office, helping them with legal matters, because that never happened. You went to the prosecution team who paid you and who hired you and called you into their office 6 or 7 times so you can help them with the brief to help you with your cross-examination. You just blew it up. You just blew it up. Hit that like button, man. I am the illest, man. I am the illest, man. This trial, yo, man, free Diddy, man. I don't care what nobody say. Now, like I said, if this case had dealt with, domestic violence and assault and rape, he was going down. He was going down. I'll be up here like that mother, you know what I'm saying? Because what you did was wrong, bro. You abused this woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say he raped her. That's what she said. I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't really call it because you got raped the next morning. You sending heart emojis to your rapist. So I can't really jump on that. Maybe you said it because you was mad. I don't know. But after that, later on that night, you out there freaking off with him. So I just kind of understand this, right? Now, excuse me for a minute. I'll be right back. I'll be right. All right, we back. We back. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button, please. Share this video. Call a friend. Tell a friend. Yo, he up here dropping some stuff. Get on this Diddy case. I got 3 other shows. This is the 4th one. We going in now. Let's go back to this lady here. I got all these degrees. That's supposed to be more intelligent than us. Don't know that common sense to tell you don't go in her office trying to orchestrate this type of stuff. But she did it with all experience. You know why? She wanted that 6,000. As they say, money is the root of all evil. So now look. Okay, let's see where we going at now. Okay, I tell you what, that's pretty much it on that, right? Now, I wanted to get the transcripts. I'm gonna see if I can get it up now. See if I can get it up now. Cause we talking about Kid Cudi now. Yeah, we gonna talk about Kid Cudi. Cause we going in on Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi here, man. It's like, yo, you know what's real funny? That prior to this case happening, right? Not prior, excuse me. When this case happened, we all heard about Kid Cudi's car being blown up, right? We heard about Kid Cudi's car being blown up. And we automatically said, yo, that was Diddy, yo. Diddy did that. You know, Diddy on his sucker for love stuff. Diddy has homosexual stuff. We found that ain't true. Diddy have a freak old party getting pegged in the butt. We heard that ain't true. People saying they ran into a house and opened the door. They saw Diddy in there with a man. That ain't true. Because they ain't come up in court. They said, you know, that Diddy locked up, man, people gonna come in there and their name's gonna be called. Diddy ain't going down by himself. He gonna snitch. That ain't happened. Most of y'all saying that he was gonna snitch because that's what you would have did. That's what you would have did. Dudes that stand 10 toes down, they not taking everybody down with their bullcrap. Some people do because you got gangster snitches now. You know what I'm saying? I ran into them. Like they get busy on the end. Yeah, I told so what's up. You see it on YouTube. Alpo was stayed up there. Yeah, I killed 14 dudes. What's up? And still was riding around in the hood. So these are the dangerous snitches. The gangster snitches because they bust their gun and they get locked up. They gonna snitch. You know what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of people saying that Puffy was gonna snitch because that's something you probably would have did. Puffy ain't gotta do that. You know what I'm saying? I always had this saying: if you run the streets, you know the rules and the regulations of the street. Rule number one, no snitching. Why? Because snitching is a part of the game. How do I know? Because there's always snitches there. That's why they tell you no snitching. It's part of the game. So I know if I get caught for something, I'm not bringing nobody down because I put myself in that situation. But you know, some people, to each his own. You know what I mean? It's easier said than done until you're there and they put 100 years in front of you on paper. You start thinking. You know what I'm saying? So you know, hey, to each his own. Like I said. So now we're talking about Kid Cudi, right? We're gonna go right into it, right? So we all know about Kid Cudi. We know that he was dealing with Cassie. We found out it was a month. Found out later on, after a month, he was texting her for a whole year. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're going to see if Cassie's so innocent. So far, have you heard all on my show, has Cassie been innocent? No, put it in the comments. I want to hear this. Do you feel Cassie's innocent? This is what I want to know. This is what I want to hear. Hit that like button. Check this out. So, Kid Cudi, he gets on the stand. This is the U.S. Attorney direct examination. Kid Cudi name is Scott Muscati, I believe, if I'm pronouncing it right. Certain things I know I haven't been pronouncing right, but I'm trying my best. The U.S. Attorney said, okay. He said that he was an actor and a producer, and that him and Cassie dated briefly in 2011. He told federal prosecutors on the stand under oath that him and Cassie dated in 2011. From what we heard, it was 1 month. Cassie told up front that her and Puffy were dating. Told him up front that him and Cassie were dating. And Puffy her and Puffy were having problems. So she already letting Kid Cudi know, listen, you already know the situation. I'm dealing with this dude. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. Okay. She don't like the freak offs. She don't like the freak offs, but to me, it looked like she like cheating. Is she innocent in this? Come on, put it there. Right? What happened? So in 2011, law enforcement or the cops came to Kid Cudi's house in Los Angeles. Cassie called them that morning and found out that called them that morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and asked Kid Cudi to come pick her up. That Puffy had found out that they were messing around. So she's like, yo, I had to put you on point. He know we smashing. While they was smashing. But she told Kid Cudi they wasn't together too. But they smashing and having freak off while she was with Cudi. This thing here getting good, man. This thing's like a soap opera here, right? So she called him and said, come pick me up. She also told Kid Cudi she gave Puff Kid Cudi's address to his house. Cassie gave Kid Cudi address to his house. Excuse me. She gave Puffy Kid Cudi's address to his house, and that's what Kid Cudi testified on his stand. He testified and said she called him and said, yo, he found out about us. I gave him that address. I guess he was pressuring her. He gave her that address. Not the wrong address. You intentionally gave your side piece address to your main dude. What the hell? What you trying to cause a murder to happen? That's what I always say, man. People go to jail for two things sometimes, or most times: drugs and women. Every time murder happens in the hood, it's over drugs or women. And when I mean drugs, I mean incorporated with money as well. You know what I'm saying? So now look. He says this on the stand. He said she seemed stressed out. She seemed scared. He took her to the Sunset Marquis Hotel in Los Angeles to be safe. And then he called. What's the girl's name that worked for Puff? Capricorn. Puff called Capricorn. He called Capricorn on a speakerphone with Cassie. And that Cassie was on the verge. No, that Capricorn was on the verge of tears. Puffy had called Capricorn, which was his assistant, and he told her to get ready. I'm coming to pick you up, and you go on a ride with us over to Kid Cudi's house. This is his other assistant, Capricorn. Yo, come with me. We're gonna ride to Kid Cudi's house. She done gave me the address. I'm gonna put some hands and feet on her. I'm just painting her. You probably didn't say that, but bear with me, right? So they go to Kid Cudi's house. All right. So Capricorn was in tears because she said she was in a car outside of Kid Cudi's house. Excuse me, Cassie, not Capricorn. Excuse me. Capricorn was in tears because she said she was in a car outside of Kid Cudi's house and Puffy and another dude. So he was with another. So all in reality, it wasn't Capricorn, it was Cassie. He called Cassie, yo, listen, we going out there, we going to see dude right now. Come on, let's go. Of course, from our statement, she's afraid. Okay, let's go. And her and another dude, and they go fly over to Kid Cudi's house. According to Kid Cudi, he said Puffy and another dude broke into his house and was in his house. I could freestyle this, but I want to actually read the transcript itself. So, all right, so they pulled up in front of the house, right? I'm a freestyle this. They put them in front of the house. Cassie stays in the car. Diddy and the other dude goes to the house. Of course, the Kid Cudi's not there, right? And they break into the house. They break into the house. They search the house. While they in the house, Cassie calls Kid Cudi while she's in Puffy's car. Putting them together. Look at this. Yo, I'm here at your house, and Puffy and another dude, they broke in your house. Give me a second. So they broke in your house. He like, what? So he calls his phone at the house. He said, Diddy picked up. Yo, my man Diddy something. He picked up his phone like he said, yo. He said, you broke into my mother effing house? He said, yeah, I want to talk to you. He said, what? He said, I want to talk to you. He said, all right, I'm coming through. So he said he come through. And on his way, he said he had to contemplate what he was going to do because he wasn't sure. He wasn't sure how Puffy came prepared. He said another dude, so he didn't know through Puffy's past and rumors. He know Puffy or heard of Puffy having guns. He don't know what to expect. We already heard champagne bottles on Steve. You know what I'm saying? Stan Steve style. We already heard about the champagne bottles, and he settled out of court with that because he bottled them up. You know what I'm saying? Puffy's not soft. Then because I went through that thing with Tupac and all that. Look, Puffy's not soft. What he said in that Vibe magazine, he kept telling Big, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Because if something happened and Pac get murdered, they're going to be the first ones the Fed's going to question. Don't say nothing. Because if we do decide to do something, nobody's going to look at us. Pac was making it hot. He was letting everybody know who he had beef with. He was letting the Feds know on radio. I got beef with Haitian Jack, Jimmy Henchman. He was letting them know. He said the names in the song. Big ain't say nothing. But Big was shooting indirect songs. You know what I'm saying? So when Pac got murdered, people, his security team is MOB, Mild Paru Bloods. They got beef with the Southside Crips. You know who his Puffy security team is? Southside Crips. Who the best person you could get to secure you? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Puffy is from Harlem, baby. He from New York. He got to move in silence. So whatever happens on that coast ain't got nothing to do with me because I'm in New York. Now, I'm not saying that he has something to do with Pac getting killed, but I'm just saying he close to it. You know what I'm saying? Because of the connections. But I'm not saying he did it. Got to have proof for that. Matter of fact, they already got somebody locked up in the Fed from the Southside Crips for Tupac murder. So we could cancel that. So now let's get back into it. So he gets to his house. He realized that nobody's there. He's looking around, but he noticed like from his front, like his vase or whatever, is misplaced. When he get out and go to his house, he see the cameras, the security cameras are turned away from the door. So that means whoever came to the house was on camera when they turned the cameras. When he get inside his house, he noticed a lot of females' clothing, presents that he had, gifts were open. We don't know who that was for, but hey, I don't know. He didn't say who it was for. Then he had a lot of female gifts, right? He had a dog. The dog was always running around the house, but for some reason it was in his bedroom. So he knew that somebody broke into his house. And from the calls that he said he got, he's testifying on the stand, he know that it was Puffy. This is his assumption. So he leaves and he calls Cassie, tells Cassie what happened. About a week later, in December of Christmas, while she's still having sex with Puffy, but she's telling him they're not having sex, he flies across country for this girl, for this woman. He flies from Texas all the way to Connecticut. And he goes spend time with Cassie. He spends the night in their home with the mother, the father, and other siblings. Like he was part of the family. He spent the night. Said Puffy found out about that. And Puffy was texting her at the same time while she was there with Kid Cudi. Spent the night and everything on Christmas. You know how that go. And then that night, she broke up with him. Ain't that something? Because she knew, listen, my spot is blown. I can't deal with you no more. You can't be the undercover side piece no more. I got to move on because my spot is blown. I got to deal with this dude now. So they ended the relationship, right? So he says, they see each other, I believe, a month later. Actually, no, about a few weeks later, Kid Cudi car, his 911 porch goes up in flames. He gets the call about the fire and his car blew up. Boom! It blew up. So now, in his mind, the prosecution is asking, who do you think did it? He said, after what everything was done and all the conversations with Puff, I believe that Puff did it. Right? That's what he's saying. He said, did you see Puffy any other time after that? He said, yeah, I saw Puffy after that. And Puffy shook my hands and looked me square in the eyes like, yo, forget about all that BS, man. That's the past, man. It's over with. So he's like, yeah, all right, whatever. At this time, he said, yo, I felt comfortable. I done moved on. I'm dealing with other things. I don't got time for that. So you know what I'm saying? Because everybody knows he jealous of Cassie. Cassie jealous of him. When they can't find each other, they calling all the celebrities around the world. Where he at? Why he ain't calling me? Where she at? Why he ain't calling? This is all through the testimony. Cassie even confirmed this. See, this is love. This is a toxic relationship. This is worse than, what's his name? Blueface and that other female. I forgot her name. But you know who I'm talking about, right? All right. So now we're going to get into the direct cross-examination. Now, Puffy team gets up there. Everything you just heard about Kid Cudi now. So all the rumors that you heard on social media, that's all a lie. just heard it right what Kid Cudi said on the stand. Right? This is what he said. Okay. Course examination time now. Let me get to it. I'm gonna find it. I ain't gonna freestyle it because I want you to hear what he's saying. Actually, he saw Puffy a few years later. Excuse me. Wasn't a few weeks. It was a few years later after that bombing. And he said, yo, you know, all that bull crap, what happened back in the past, like, yo, that's over. My bad, man. I broke into, you know, he broke into the man's house and all that, allegedly, you know, and what was said, and he said, yo, man, we're going to squash it, right? Now, Brian Steele, this is the direct cross-examination. Brian Steele, beautiful name, Brian, right? Which means noble, you know, in the Irish language. The one that got Young Thug off down in Atlanta. Told you he got the dream team, right? Brian Steele, he comes out, he ain't playing. He's going right at him. He said, Kid Cudi. I'm sure he said his actual name. He said, do you have any surveillance videos showing that Mr. Combs was on your property or was on your property the day that there was a break-in or you got your car got blown up? He said, no. No. He said, no. He said the fire department was called right. The police came right. You did a police report, right? He said, yes. Brian Steele says the Kid Cudi was DNA collected by the cops on your car. Kid Cudi said, yeah, they collected DNA. Brian Steele didn't get that. Right? DNA came back. Right? Hold on. The cops in your car, Kid Cudi said, yeah, they collected DNA. He said the DNA came back a female. Because when the car was bombed, first of all, the fire department broke, and I left something out. When the fire department pulled up at Kid Cudi's house, when the car was blowing up, they realized somebody opened his sunroof and they dropped a cocktail in there with their hands. So the cocktail glass don't disappear. So the glass was still in the car. So the fire department gave it to the police department, and the police went down there and did a whole DNA, and it was a female fingerprint on there. Who is that, would you think? Could it be Cassie? Or could it be but a side piece that found out he was cheating and decided, oh, I'm gonna get you back. You know, women want to break your car windows. She dropped the cocktail in his car and had the car on fire. Then it blew up. Wally, what's up, man? Yeah, you know he had somebody to do that shit. Nah, I don't think he did. Even if he did, it's a female fingerprint. Why say Puffy did it? Why you ain't think about no other females who did it? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if Puffy did it because it's a female. It's a female fingerprint. Now the question is, who's the fingerprint? If she don't have a criminal case, it ain't gonna come up. But they got a female fingerprint, so that clears Puffy. You don't see him on the surveillance breaking in. Now, first of all, if you got surveillance in your camera, it goes to the police department, or you have control of it. So if I come to your house and I move the camera, ain't I'm gonna be on the camera showing that I broke into your house? So why Puffy ain't got a breaking and entering case? Why? I mean, that's $1 million question. Put it in the comments, you know? Now, look, it gets even deeper, right? Okay. Now, when they said the DNA came back a female. The government quickly objected. Object, 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 object. They've been doing a lot of sidebars and objecting on this case, you know? They said object, all right? But Brian Mr. Brian still ended up getting his point across, even if it was an objection, because the jury heard it. See, the tactics that they use in court, even though they know it's going to get stricken off the record, the jury already heard it. So they already know Puff ain't had nothing to do with that, because in their mind, they like, that's not his DNA. Yeah, it's stricken off the record, but we already know that he has nothing to do with the break-in because of the security camera, either whatever Cassie said or what he said on the stand. But that clears Cassie too. Because that's coercion. You're a co-defendant to breaking and entering. You gave him the address. You already know what he was going to do. Because he told you, come on, let's go. We're going in now. Yeah, the government knew that too. That's why they quickly jumped up and said, object. They knew no DNA. His DNA was on and no fingerprints. Check this out. Okay. All right, so the so-called DNA of the Porsche, but the DNA came back a female. Brian Steele, Kid Cudi, there was no eyewitnesses that saw Puff. Puff there at your house, none of your security surveillance saw Puff, right? He said no. He said no. He said no, Puff is not a surveillance breaking in my house. He said no. The DNA that caused my car to be on fire and blown up, his fingerprints didn't come back as Puff. It came back as a female. Puff is in the clear, right? Brian Steele said, Cudi, you and Cassie talked or text every day for 1 year. You knew Cassie. No, he said, excuse me, Kid Cudi, you and Cassie talked or text every day for 1 year, right? But your relationship had ended with Cassie in 1 month, but for a whole year, y'all talked. It's interesting. He said, yeah. Cassie, he said, this is the defense team. This is what he asked him. Cassie played you? Do you think Cassie played you? Kid Cudi didn't know. No, Kid Cudi said, no, he said, yeah, Cassie played you. No? So Kid Cudi didn't, Kid Cudi, didn't you go on an international tour with 65 cities called the Kud Life Tour? Yes, in 2011. Kid Cudi, didn't you describe Puff as an icon? He said, yes, in 2010, this and all. In 2010, this and Puffy's lawyer, Okay, yes, in 2010, he had the tour. Now, this is Puff lawyer. This is all Puff lawyer. Puff asked you to do a song with Cassie, and yet you ended up, you know what I'm saying, knocking her down with him. With him. Years later. Come on, man. You with him? I got to read it again. He said to him, Puff, as a favor to Puff, asked you to do a song with Cassie, and yet you ended up, you know what I'm saying, knocking her down, getting with him. Y'all worked out together. You went hiking together. Y'all went to movies together. Y'all did drugs together, right? He said, drugs, and what do you mean? He said, you mean weed? Brian says, yeah, weed. He said, yeah, we smoke weed together, but still you had a consensual sex with Cassie, right? Prosecution, sidebar. Yo, for a female that's always saying that she's no consensual, all you females out there saying, Puffy forcing her to do all these freakos. She's sure freaking off a whole lot outside of Diddy and with Diddy. So you really have to make me understand this sex trafficking here. For all I'm concerned, seeing like she's doing enough sex trafficking herself. And this is not, I'm not trying to defecate on her abuse, but what I'm reading don't add up. It just don't add up. You having threesomes and all that with Kid Cudi, and you like, what's going on here? All right. He asked Kid Cudi on the stand in front of everybody, didn't you have consensual sex with Cassie? Prosecution sidebar, the bar, sidebar, the bar, sidebar, the bar, sidebar. They sidebar all goddamn morning, right? So prosecution goes up to the judge. They turn off the mics. They talk and they going back and forth. They come back to the sidebar. Brian still go right back at it again. Didn't you have consensual sex with another? Excuse me. Didn't you have consensual sex with a sidebar, another sidebar, another sidebar? They still call it sidebars again, right? Now that's two sidebars back to back. So they come back and then Brian still, he leave that alone. He left that alone, right? So with Puff, yes. She said with Puff, yes. Kid Cudi said, Cassie told you, oh, excuse me, kind of went ahead of myself. So he said, okay, I'm gonna go another lane. He said, cause Kid Cudi, because he already made his point. Every time she's having sex with somebody else behind Diddy back, it's always consensual. Even when she's having the freak offs, aka the threesomes in a hotel room with an escort, the escort already testified. She calling the escort, she answering the door, and it's consensual. She freely pouring the baby all over her body. Come on now. These are everybody's co-op. Then this is the prosecution witness, not Diddy's. All right, we at it. You said you really like Cassie, didn't you? Really liked her. He said, Kid Cudi said, yes. I told you she wasn't really with Puff, right? He said, I told you she wasn't really with Puff, right? Yes, in Thanksgiving 2010, she told you her and Puff was having problems and that they were on again and off again and on again and off again and on again and off again. Kid Cudi says, yeah. He said, Kid Cudi, when you met with the federal prosecutors, here we go, gear up. When you met with the federal prosecutors, you told them that for 4 years, Cassie told you that her and Puff were on again, off again, and for 4 years, he said, I don't remember saying that. I don't remember saying that. That's what he said. He said, I don't remember saying that. But you said Cassie told you that, but now you don't remember saying that. Okay. Brian still said, well, you want me to refresh your memory? Here we go again. So you want me to refresh your memory? Your memory? He pulled out the paperwork and says, do you remember when you met with the federal prosecutors? He said, oh, yeah. If it's dead, then I must have said it. No, he said, if it's there, then I must have said it. In 2011, Kid Cudi, Cassie, and you confided in each other. You spent 3 days at Christmas with Cassie and her family. You flew across the country with her after the trespassing incident to his house, right? After the trespassing incident, Kud Kudi, you were hurt when Cassie left you. He said, yes. He said, yes. So you were in love with Cassie, weren't you, Kid Cudi? He said, yes. Damn, she must got some good boy. If they was only together for 1 month, 30 days, god damn, that thing was fire. And it got to be fire because everybody already knows she's freaking off in the industry. Because, you know, the industry is like the streets. Everybody that has a name, we know. And we know their background, we know the rumors, we know everything that's going on, even if we never met you before. So in the music world and the big stars, they all hear things. They all know things. You know what I'm saying? Even the alleged things. So everybody already knew Cassie's just certified freak, as Young Miami texted her with in caps. Obviously, Young Miami knew. So all of these dudes is going to her so they could get the freak offs. Check it, man. Right? All right. Kid Cudi, isn't it true that you believe the day of your break-in, you alleged your alleged break-in, I have to say that, alleged break-in, when Puffy allegedly broke into your house, you actually left your front door open that day of the break-in? He said yes. I thought the doors was broken. Okay. Back with Puffy, you wanted to fight Puff. He said yes. Kid Cudi, Cassie never told you that? That Puff physically abused her? Did she? No, Kid Cudi. Cassie never told you that. She was sexually abused by Puffy. Did she? No. She never told me. That's what he said. She never told him. Right? That, all right. Okay. They said now, Kid Cudi, isn't it true that when you and Puffy met and got together, that Puff was confused because he found out she was talking to you for over a year, and then you was confused because you thought she left Puff alone? Isn't that true, kid? Kid Cudi, both of you guys were played. You and Puff got played by Cassie. Both of y'all got played. This is what Brian Steele is saying on the stand. Kid Cudi, that Cassie was living with two different lives. Yes. Kid Cudi, isn't it true? He said yes. He said yes. He believed that Cassie was playing both of them. And I believe it. You got caught cheating. You threw Kid Cudi under the bus and gave Puff the number and the address. Instead of putting him on point just in case he's not home, you wait till he get out front the house, then call Kid Cudi. Yo, listen, he out here, and he breaks into his house and all of that. You already knew what you was doing. Kid Cudi had a career. If it wasn't gonna work out for Puff, she's gonna give a Kid Cudi. Because ever since she got into the entertainment world, she ain't had no regular joke. Everybody she got with had something going on major. Ryan Leslie, Kid Cudi, Michael B. Jordan. Who else you want to name? We already know Puff. Who else you want to name? The NFL players she got caught with. And she got a track record, man. She ain't messing with no regular joke because she's not trying to go back to where she came from. It's all about this, the root of all evil. Now, of course, now, Kid Cudi, isn't it true that nobody was ever, hold on, I think I got ahead of myself. No, living two different lives. He said, yeah. So Kid Cudi, isn't it true that nobody was ever charged for the damage of your car? Sidebar. They call sidebar again. Yo, man, y'all really think this man gonna get loose trap? Y'all put it in the comments. But tell me, I've been on here like 2 hours and change. I'm going in. We're about to end soon. No other action was taken, Kid Cudi, when you met with the federal prosecutors again. You told the feds that Cassie had multiple phones, that she had a burner phone and an untraceable phone. What the hell is she doing with that? They're going to make an example out of him. I don't know, man. You got to listen to the rest of my shows, man. I don't know, because you got 9 men on a jury. If he had nothing but women, yeah, I could see that happening, because women are going to deal with the emotional aspect of it, because majority of women has been abused, especially sexually and verbally and physically. So I look at Facebook and they're already calling Puff a monster. They don't care if the charges don't even fix the crime. They want him to do life because of what he just did to Cass. See what I'm saying? So you got 9 men on the jury that hearing this. They like, nah, what's going on here? Like, what's going on here? Everybody's getting caught up in their lies. Everybody. Like I said, the only one that didn't get caught up in their lie was Cassie. She just had a she just got confused on the date or the month she was raped. She said it was August, then she said it was September. But other than that, everything she said, they didn't triple on. They couldn't, she had all her facts right. But everybody else is saying she's consenting. Everybody else is saying outside of her, even her friend, yeah, we got high outside of Puff. See what I'm saying? So you can't say Puff is making you do the drugs, because you outside with everybody else outside of Puff doing drugs. She just said, oh, let me take this sip. She just said last week that she just got off of opioid addiction in 2022. You stop messing with Puff 2018. What happened? You've been with your fiance all this time. Well, he ain't encouraging you. Probably was getting high with her. That's why. Because if I'm not getting high and I see you damaging yourself and I love you and I'm your fiance, I'm going to try to talk some sense into you. Because only people that don't get high do that. Two people that get high, they encouraging each other to get high some more until one of them OD and they figure, yo, you know what? It's time for us to clean ourselves up. Or they feel like it's just getting too out of hand. Somebody's going to say something. And that's what Puff did. Puff said, yo, we got a problem. He OD'd twice. His second time, he said, yo, that's it. We got to go into rehab. We never knew Puff was in rehab until this trial. We never knew that he put Cassie in a rehab to get herself better until this trial. Why she leave? Okay, we back at it. Okay, a burner phone and an untraceable phone. And Cassie told Puffy the address to your home. He said, yes. Brian still said, I ain't getting no, he said, I got no more questions. The government came out what they're going to do the redirect, right? So they, so according to Brian Still and everything, him and Cassie had consensual sex. There was no force. Everybody that she had sex with outside of Puff, it was consensual. There was no force. All the escorts with the threesomes and the guys you don't know the name and all that was consensual. The first escort she was having sex outside of Puff on the low was consensual. Everything she did was consensual. I'm trying to figure out when was the time that Puff put the gun to her head and tell her, suck it. I haven't heard that. Open your legs, God damn it. I haven't heard that yet. Okay. Consensual sex with Kid Kudi and had been seeing him for over a year without Puff knowledge. She's playing Puff. You understand? She got Kid Kudi on the side. She got Puff on the side. She got millionaires, two dudes that's millionaires on the side that she could call for anything, anytime, anywhere. She's playing this type of call. So when Puff don't work out, and I'm finally over with Puff, because this is 2011, they really starting to end their relationship now, right? Well, 7 years early, because a lot can happen in that 7 years. But they are on the verge of breaking up because they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But she's not completely done with Puff. She knows that. You know what I'm saying? Wally said, where's the co-defendants for the conspiracy? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because like when you hear Rico, you hear co-defendants. Oh, like I said in my last show, when you hear Rico case, the first thing you think about is what? Oh, the mafia. Well, now they throwing it to gangbangers. It's easy to get them because they're too stupid to do anything smart. Not defecating on gangbangers because I was one, but you not thinking. These dudes are some real organized crime. They thinking. So when you hear Rico, you think of the boss, the lieutenant, the sergeant, the captain, the foot soldiers, the guns, who takes out the hit, who cleans up the bodies, who you know what I'm saying? Everybody has a role. In the Rico case, he got employees. What the hell? You know what I'm saying? So let's get right back into it. So Puff, you understand? He said, Puff, you understand she got Kid Kudi on the side and hit. Hold on. All right. All right. So, you know, I'm gonna just start going freestyle because that was pretty much it. Because like I said, it's pretty much like hold on. It's pretty much like, you know, she confided in him. She confided in Kid Kudi. This is how I see it before I end. This is how I see it. And this is real talk. It got to the point in their relationship, I think, like I said, she got stuck. See what I'm saying? She wanted to move on, but she couldn't move on because she ain't got nothing. She ain't got no money. She ain't got nothing. How you know, Slug? Because after they separated completely, she admitted on the stand that when she started dealing with addicts, found who she was cheating on with Puff, right? You imagine how he heard that and called like, right? And when he wore the shades, he wore the shades that came out the coat. You gotta see his face under the shade. Very stern. He's upset. right? You and your husband is on your first or probably second baby. I'll say second baby. You lose your house in New York or your apartment. You lose your apartment in LA. You and your husband become homeless. Now you go back to your parents' house. Imagine going through imagine this, Wally. You shaking hands with Fat Joe, Jada Kiss, Puffy, Dr. Dre. We the best. You shaking hands with DJ Khaled. You going to Met Galas and all that. And now you got to come back to Eastern Parkway? Exactly. You like, nah, I got to get my next come up. You looking for the next female that got money. I ain't going back. I already had a plan and messing with Joe Blow that messed up my whole career. So I ain't got nothing to fall back on. I got to make an exit plan. I can't go back to Connecticut in the hood. What? They sold me all over the magazines and then I got to go back like I'm broke? Oh, nah. So this is why she started dealing with all these other celebrities that got money. Yes, she's the predator. Exactly. That's why I say both of them is full of crap. They both lying. They both manipulative. They both abusers. Because I said, all right, Puffy was abused. Who did she abuse? So far, you heard Ryan Leslie say he was in love. You heard Kid Kudi say he was in love. You know these men was in love with you, but you were still stringing them along. Wow. Wow. She brought Kid Kudi to her parents' house and had on Christmas. You only do that with your main squeeze. You don't do that with no side piece. I wish I would. I seen a video, as a matter of fact, my wife showed it to me the other day. It was Diddy, his children when they was young, and it was Kim Porter. And they was taking a photo of a picture of like a family portrait. And Cassie was on the side and she saw the cameras and she tried to get in the camera and Puffy did like that. But that was the sign like, get the hell up out of here. What you doing? You the side piece, you blowing up my spot. And I'm sure he know Kim know about her, but yet she trying to find her way into the picture. That's her problem. She always trying to find her way in the picture. You're not in the picture. So after them becoming homeless and they go move to their mother, I'm sure he was giving her up like, yo, listen, you got to do something. We broke. I think it's best for you to sue Diddy. I know some friends because he's a trainer for other entertainers, probably lawyers, judges. He probably, I need to ask you a question. And he like, listen, I got put on. So she filed a lawsuit. But allegedly, she gave him the book first and said, I'm going to put my life story out. Puff looked at it like, all right, and so obviously, even though she said his name in the book and everything he did, he didn't care about it. Why? Because it was nothing we heard of that was damaging. He said, man, you put it out. Go ahead. I don't care. She said, oh, word? She said, all right, civil suit. Put the civil suit out now. Now she could get more money. Because see, a book deal, you're going to get a couple of $100,000. She probably give her $1 million deal like Superhead. Yeah, you take $1 million deal for the book. We get the rights and we going to eat off of your book. But Steve, you put in a 1983, a civil lawsuit going to the federal courts, or you get more than that, especially dealing with Diddy in a civil court. She knew she was going to get more money. If you gave her 20 million. 20 million off the rip. So while we was going through all this cock and bull stuff, and then the video came out and we was crying and we, oh my God, look what she's doing. Look what Diddy's doing to her. And we was boo-hooing while she went up there on the stand last week. They asked her, is that the only person you sued? She started to get small. She said, yeah, that's the only person I sued. He said, all right, let me rephrase the question. Is Puffy the only one that you got a settlement from? She said, well, it wasn't more like a settlement. It was the hotel. He said, what about the hotel? He said, they gave you money? She said, yeah. He said, the 10 million, right? She didn't even know he knew that. See what happens when you're $1 million lawyer and you got private investigators, you could get things done. She was like, huh? He said, you got 10 million, right? She said, yeah, but I didn't get it yet. He said, when did they settle? No, actually, they asked her, so you didn't put in a lawsuit, so how do you get the 10 million? She said, I went there and I demanded it. You demanded 10 million? How the hell you do that? Because when the incident happened, the so-called security alleged he didn't take no money to cover it up. Not only that, he forged all the incident reports. The tape that we saw was only 5 minutes. I mean, it was only like 20 seconds or a minute. The video was 5 minutes. After a little commotion, they was copacetic in the hallway. She had enough time to leave. You know who was in the hotel room? He said a 7-foot dude that was big. He was just sitting on in the bed in all black. She was getting ready for the freak off. Well, Puff saw something in her phone and she tried to get away. That's when that happened. Society ran with it and said, yo, she was running because she didn't want to do the freak off. She the one calling them. All 13 of them already have said, she calling me. The first one took the stand. She calling me. She doing a lot of calling. She's doing a lot of calling. But like I said, she's not innocent and Puff is not innocent. They both played on each other and he played on her greed because he knew what she wanted. I was like that when I was young and I was getting money. This is what I'll do. I get a female, she'll be in my car, and let's say I gotta go to the store. I gotta go to the store, yo. And I'll pull out my money and be like, all I need is, I could have counted in the store, but I want her to see because I'm playing on her greed. And she's looking at like, oh shit, he got money. Yeah, I'm definitely coming. She getting ready to cut the dude who she with, or she gonna just cheat on her. Because now she got somebody with a come up. But I'm playing her for the jaws because I know she see, this is what Puff is doing. So stop, ladies, please stop going out there talking about, oh, she was 19, she was immature. Bull crap. I know a lot what I was doing at 19. At 19, I was on Rikers Island at C-74. We was up there cutting each other, robbing each other, and doing all that. Don't tell me about you don't know what you're doing. And she knew exactly what she was doing. That's why she made it from A to Z. Because she played her hand. And she played it well. Because she was the only one that didn't run her mouth in the media. She didn't say nothing negative about Puff. Nothing in the media negative about Puff. No interviews, no nothing. Why? Because her game plan was on that $20 million. But everybody else that's talking, they ain't getting no money like Gene Deal and Jaguar, right? They could talk till their lips fall off. You ain't got nothing. You ain't getting nothing. Even what's her name? Dawn Rashad from Danny Kane. She got a civil suit. It's about to get dismissed because she contradicted herself on the stand last week. Talk back to me. So when she goes to her civil case, and they already got a motion to dismiss a complaint. So as soon as they see she want to start doing some civil trial or whatever, they're gonna say, remember when you said this in the civil court? Read that. Gonna play it again on her. So that's out. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said in my last show, the Bible says when it comes to greed, when you really dive into that, the end result is ruin and deception. Chase that greed, you chase that money, is ruin and deception. We heard about the college students. They wanted to work for the cartel so they could get some money. What happened? They end up chopped up. Your greed. You want to hustle, you want to sell drugs, you getting the bling bling, you getting all of this. Your greed, now you in jail. Now you got a RICO case. Destruction and ruin. And that's what happened to her. But it ain't over. You know why? And I'm probably wrong for saying this. She got married without a prenup. How I know? Because when she got married, she ain't had no money. She had moved back with her parents with this white guy. He's supposed to be the breadwinner. You up there having trainers for high-class profile athletes and entertainers, and you moving in with your girl at her mother's apartment? What the hell is going on? What was you doing with your money? Shouldn't you already have an apartment? No, because he was chasing Cassie money. Because if he wasn't chasing her money, he would have already had his own money, his own apartment, like he had his own 9 to 5. But since he got with a so-called man there, he think, or a gateway, he don't want to train no more. He training her in the bedroom now. He getting the freak offs now. Because and he knew they was doing freak offs because she told them. Not only that, she said one time when her and Puffy had sex, he FaceTimed her and she answered the phone while they was having sex. So he already knew what he was getting into. He already thinking, she got the crib, she got the mansion, she got the car, she got the money, and she gonna allow me to have mad freak offs like Puff. So he want to be in Puff position, like a lot of dudes want to be in my position. Damn, his wife letting him get all that. Yo, I want to be in that nigga position. Soon as he break up with her, I'm on her. Yeah. Well, hold your breath then. You know what I'm saying? You think she stopped doing the freak off? No, not at all. She's in the lifestyle. She was doing that while she was with other people. She's willingly calling them. She may not have them more frequent like she did with Puff with this dude. You know what I'm saying? But I believe she gonna still have them. We just ain't gonna know about it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I feel. You know, and like I said, she got married with no prenup. Now you got a total of 30 million. It's coming, baby. Because God don't like ugly. They always say karma's a mother. You do bad, you get bad. Whatever she did in the past to hurt people's feelings in a relationship, now her feelings gonna be hurt in her marriage because she played people, she broke people's heart. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe he'll be there, but this is what I see when you start doing evil, because evil begets evil. Good begets good. You know what I'm saying? You may do good and get a negative result by somebody doing something to you, but if you keep doing evil, all your results is evil. Just because you're doing evil and you getting money, you getting rich, doesn't mean it's positive what you're doing. It just means now you just put a green light on your head because everybody don't see your success in the street. Now they're coming for you. Y'all all right out there? I know I've been on here a little long. I had to go in, man. I had to go in with the psychiatrist. I had to really go in because I want people to actually look at my shows, my contents, and understand this case. You know what I'm saying? This case is bigger than Cassie and Puffy. And Puffy actually went up there within that year, that video, and got $1 billion settlement. You don't get $1 billion settlement. You get $100,000 settlement, or $200,000, or maybe $1 million. Puffy got $1 billion settlement. Well, damn, what would have happened if he would have actually went to trial? What he would have got for that? Because they gave him $1 billion? Damn. Or maybe he could have hurt businesses behind that. And the reason why he did it, because they didn't give him no I gave. I gave it's like, I used to use that as, it's like honey. It's an organic form of honey that they use in the alcohol. And they wasn't giving Puff the agave, and it was slowing up his process. And he went flying down there to find out what was the holdup. And he found out that Diego wasn't shipping the agave to make the process of his alcohol because he left Ciroc and created De Leon. They don't want a black man owning no liquor. They don't want a black man owning nothing by himself. That's why Jigga's on a puppet string. He don't own nothing by himself. Everything he owns is, far as how I'm talking about business-wise. Everything he owns in business, he has a board meeting. They call him, you're the face of the black community. Put your face on it. We're gonna say Barclays Center is yours. And he say, yeah, and he perform it. We went out there thinking it's over, and then next thing you know, he sell his stocks. And then Puff that had the nerve to get up there and says that we're creating a black political party, not the Black Caucus. No. He said, nah, we don't want to talk to them. He said, we don't even want a conversation about them. He said, because I notice now, because now when the money's getting in his pocket and he getting more, his levels is changing. His circles is changing. So he's in a political circle now. And now he see what's going on. Oh, shoot. We're not even part of the discussion. All these house Negroes, that's the gatekeeper. Nah. Because, I heard Farrakhan say this. We could be sellouts for money, but so much against our own people. Because once you get to a certain level and they let you see the truth, it's going to pull you back. Because you ain't cut from that cloth. Yeah, you could jerk people on their record publishing rights. Yeah, you could beat females up or whatever. But we talking about destroying your own kind. Nah, that shit pulled Puff back. Excuse my language. It pulled them back. And he said, I'm going to start my own political party. He said, I'm already talking to some people that have they're not even on the political circles, but they're going to get into it. What? We having this $1 billion trying to inspire the dream? Oh no, he got to go. Look where he at. And all of that happened in 1 year. That gave the settlement, his video about the Black political party, Cassie's book, and the videotape. All that happened in 1 year. As far as I know, you asked me, I think they told Cassie to go and put the civil suit in. I don't think she was that bright because she would have did it. They told her to do it. We'll give you a check. Don't say nothing. Check. Oh, don't forget to get another check from the hotel they owe you too. What are you talking about? Don't worry, we got some lawyers for you. This is what I'm assuming. Because it just moved so fast. Everything went so fast. I'm like, damn, all this, he got hit back to back. That's why you seen him, like I said in my video, when it came and raided his house, they passed a search warrant and posted a bull hit his crib at 6 in the morning. Wow, you know what I mean when they got warrants? They come get you early in the morning. They let Puff, and they knew he had a flight with his daughters to fly out in Miami. He was in Miami. He was flying out. Remember the picture after they raided his crib? Puff was like this. And he was waiting with his plane, but he didn't take off yet. He wanted to find out what was going on. They knew where he was at. All the times they knew where he's at. He gave himself up. He knew where he was at. But why they wanted him to leave is because they wanted the opportunity to have their access to the house without anybody being in there. Because if Puff was on the scene and he heard that, he was calling his lawyers ASAP. You know what I'm saying? So they waited for him to leave and then put all the cuffs on his children. Embarrassing. And what the hell is Homeland Security doing at somebody's house? I thought Homeland Security deal with terrorism. Yeah, you see it. They deal with terrorism. So why is Homeland Security inside the house and the FBI agents that supposed to arrest Puff is outside in the front? What's going on? Y'all see it? This thing stink, man. It stink like my boots been in, like my feet been in boots for 10 hours. You know what I'm saying? Here for now says she probably doing it with her husband on the low. Yeah, I think she is. That's why I say they're going to make an example out of him. Yeah, they probably will. They probably make an example out of him. Or, and I said this the other day, or they put this case together to teach Puff a lesson. Because Puff is a boule. He's in a secret society, a powerful secret society. I'm talking about these secret society, the boules, they go back to Martin Luther King and all Jesse Jackson, T.D. Jakes, Eric Adams, the Maid. These are all boules. You're not going to just push Puff around like, he got power. He got pull. He got political pull. Trust me what I believe. I mean, what I say. So I think they try to make an example, because if you look at the case, you be like, how is domestic violence involved with sex trafficking? How is this a RICO? And then the witnesses is getting caught up in all kinds of lies. I'm like, what kind of cases? If I was a prosecutor, which I'm not an ace in the hole when it comes to law. But I know if I read all this testimony that they're giving me, I'm not pushing this in the court. I'm not. But like Mr. Cox said, maybe they're going to want an example. They know the case is bogus and they're going to push it. He's going to go there anyway. Same thing with R. Kelly. Same thing with Bill Cosby. You know what I'm saying? Well, R. Kelly's a whole different situation. The money ran out on him. And you notice the difference between his trial and Diddy? All the victims on R. Kelly trial, they all said the same thing. This trial, they all saying something different, and they all not collaborating with Cassie. Shit, even the charges don't even collaborate with the case. This is all a setup. Like I said, I think they just want to, slow them down, make them learn this lesson. Now, you ain't getting no bail. You're sitting there. You got to learn. Learn to play your place, boy. Because that's what the boules are. They the house niggas of the plantation. It's been like that since slavery. All those slaves that was able to be free and then go to school and then go to college and become into the fraternity, those are the house niggas. They was the first ones in school. This all been passed down. That's why Martin Luther King said, nonviolent, we ain't gonna do nothing. And our people was getting killed and hung and bullied and bit by dogs, and no, we ain't gonna do nothing. But when Martin sat down with Elijah Muhammad, that's not part of the Boule circle, that's not part of that system, and opened that Bible and showed King the real theology, King came back and said, oh, I think I integrated my people into a burning house. He started talking different. The Boule start telling you, hey, calm down now. You can't be doing that. Remember, they put you in a position. No. They start exposing Martin with the sex scandals, which is true. I mean, all men with power, most times they always have a side piece somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But that didn't deter Martin. He kept going. They blew his throat out. They blew his throat out. We had the riots over 100 cities. You hear anything about the Boule saying anything now? They ain't say nothing. They try to call Elijah Muhammad, you need to talk to the blacks. They're burning down the whole America. Elijah said, well, hey, I ain't start the fire and I ain't putting it out. You know what I'm saying? Let it burn. But we can't have equal rights. Then let the whole damn country burn. You know what I'm saying? So they don't want another Malcolm or Elijah. They don't want another Farrakhan with money. And you want me to prove that to you? My next show, I'm going to be talking. I said this before, but I got caught up. I'm going to be talking about Ibrahim Toure. Right now, he is like the Malcolm X of the entire Africa. They trying to see this Diddy case is distracting us. Right now, he got every president in Africa right now telling white folks, get out. This our stuff. This our natural resources. And imagine what the FBAs are doing over here at the same time. We over here killing police. Matter of fact, I just found out, talking about sparking the fire, I just found out today, the guys that broke out of prison in New Orleans, one of them, he got locked up. I believe, if I'm saying it right, he got locked up because he killed, all right, there was 2 corrupted cops and they sent some people to kill his parents or his grandparents. When he broke out of jail, not only he killed them, but he killed 2 of the crooked cops. Why they ain't on the news? You know why? Because it inspired you. After what Rodney Henson did, and now this, oh no, they can't have that in the media. They didn't got this African over here caught, man. Yo, I'm gonna play it tomorrow. His speech to the IMF and Trump and all of them. He had them white people like this. They were staring like, what the hell? They ain't even pass sanctions on him. They can't. And you know why? Because he said, I don't care. You could withdraw your funding. You could put sanctions on me like Cuba. You could do whatever you will do. At least I know we have our own. We could struggle alone and we're going to make it successful alone. But they got natural resources, so they all right. But I ain't going to get into it too much. We're going to get into it tomorrow. So with that, you know, I'm going to say peace and blessing. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Come on, y'all. Hit that like button, man. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? I'm looking at the likes. It's like 4 likes. It's like 18 people on here. Y'all playing games. G-Eazy, son. Yeah. Yo, so thank you for listening. You know, God bless y'all. Y'all have a good night. You know, I got to get ready to go step out and have some fun. You know, thank hope to God I make it back home. I always say that because anything can happen when you step out these doors. Whether it could be somebody from your past life or someone around your way in the neighborhood that this bump into you and say something crazy, or it could just be police, wrong description. If it's wrong description, always remember, all of them is the what? Right description. Later.